Welcome back, TW fans. Thomas here, bringing you another Tackle Warehouse how-to. Today we're going to be going over setting up the hover strolling technique. Pretty awesome little rig. There's three things about it that I really like. It's simple, it's effective, and I mean, it's underutilized. I mean, this thing's really flying under the radar. First came out in Japan, gaining popularity over here, but it's not really being used a lot. It's an awesome little finesse technique. So if you're looking for something that the fish haven't seen before, they've already seen 100 neds, 1,000 drop shots, a million wacky worms, you know, give them this to look at. I think you're gonna capitalize on a few bites that you may have otherwise missed. Now it's pretty, like I said, simple technique, so we're gonna jump right in. You can actually take any of these steps in a variety of order. I'm gonna start with just tying on our leader line if you're gonna be using one of those, if you're going braid to fluoro, or you know, just your main line if you're gonna go straight fluorocarbon on this one. You are gonna wanna use fluorocarbon. It's got no stretch, highly invisible. It's definitely gonna be a superior line for this one. As far as knots are concerned though, you can use whatever terminal knot you like. I'm gonna be using just a San Diego jam for this one. We got a ton of videos out here, how-tos that we've already shot that you guys should check out. You know, the Palomar, the improved clinch knot, and then the San Diego jam that I'll be tying today. So there's a ton of different, you know, information out there that you can utilize to pick your preferred terminal knot and get it tied up for you. So let's get this thing tied on. All right, so once you get your terminal knot tied on there, you'll of course snip off the tag end. You can do that with every single knot, of course. Now the reason I'm starting with this step for this video, so say you're on the water, you've already gotten smashed by 5, 6, 7 smallmouth on there, your bait's getting torn up, it's time to throw on a new one. I mean, you can always start with this knot so you can kind of just pick this video up at any point when you're ready to re-rig it with a new plastic, you know, freshen it up. Now speaking of the plastics, there's a ton of different plastics that we can choose from. Now again, this is a finesse technique, so you're generally using a very, very tiny hook, a number 6, a number 8, a number 4, I mean something super small. But today for the camera, you know, we're gonna use a little bit heavier of a hook, heavier line gauge, and then a bigger bait. So I'm actually gonna use, you know, kind of a more full-size fluke style soft plastic here. But traditionally, like the one I have rigged up for you already here, you're gonna be using ultra small tackle and ultra small baits. That's a little 3-inch little swim bait there. So any of those fork-tail swim baits, you can even use, you know, more worm style. This is one of the flat worms, super popular with our smallmouth guys out there. So there's a ton of different ways that you can, you know, customize this rig to suit your needs. But generally it is a finesse rig. It was funny, kind of while we're setting this up in the office today, we were wondering how successful one of these more Magnum style hover strolling rigs would do on the water. So if any of you guys have used the larger full-size plastics, some bigger, I have a, you know, 2-aught hook right here. If any of you guys have actually used these on the water and you know how the action's working, let us know in the comments. We'd be excited to know, but generally a more finesse technique. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump in, start rigging this thing here. Now, one of the most important things to note with the hover strolling rig is traditionally you're gonna put the point of the hook through the nose of the plastic that you're using today. Not with the hover strolling rig. We want this thing to sit perfectly horizontal in the water column. So rather, you're gonna wanna work back 1/4, maybe 1/8 of an inch back on your bait. I'm using a little bit larger of a bait here. Again, that's just for the camera to pick it up easier. So I'm gonna go back just a touch farther, but with those finesse ones, you're gonna kind of land somewhere between, you know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch back. So you'll just insert your hook point here like you would with anything else. And then we're gonna thread it on through, I don't know, about halfway down the shank. Making sure to come out the center of the back. And there you go. Perfectly straight, set back a little bit. Get this thing threaded on there well for you. All right, so as you can see, we got the eye of the hook, you know, 1/4, 1/8 of an inch back, a little bit further on this larger bait here, but that's the general idea. So that's gonna sit more horizontal in the water column. Now there's one more aspect to this rig, one more thing we gotta add, and that's gonna be a little nail weight into the nose of this bait. Now the weight of this, you know, nail weight that we're gonna add on there is gonna be variable again. It's gonna need to match your conditions depending on how deep you're fishing, how windy it is, how quickly you want this thing to get to the bottom, because this is gonna fall with kind of a spiral action to it. So you're gonna wanna make sure you pick the weight that fits the bait and the conditions that you're using. There's a number of options out here. What I really, really like is Ryugi came out with a new one where you can actually separate sections of this weight. So it's available in a couple different sizes, but if you need to go smaller, you can just break off these sections on here and really custom fit the weight to meet your bait, meet your conditions. So like that, I just popped off a section of this thing. So we're gonna thread this one in. So you'll just insert this into the nose of the plastic and slide it on in here. Again, a couple of options of what you can do with this weight. So as you can see, I left a very, very small portion of it exposed. What that's gonna do is as this thing falls, if it comes into contact with boulders, timber, other hard structures, that tungsten and that little bit of exposed weight is gonna just give you a little bit more feedback. You're gonna actually feel that structure, feel that contact. Maybe you're gonna feel some of those more subtle bites a little bit better, a little bit quicker. Conversely, you can actually bury that all the way into the nose of the bait. Some folks even like to use a lighter or some sort of heat source to actually melt the nose of the plastic a tiny bit to seal it shut. That way you can really do bomber casts, whip this thing out really well, and that weight is not gonna come out. All right, and that's it, guys. That is the Hover Strolling Rig. So as I mentioned, super simple. All you have is your line, you have the hook, you have the plastic, and that little nail weight. This thing is gonna sit perfectly horizontal in the water column, so you can really target those suspended, those finicky, those highly pressured fish really, really effectively. You definitely wanna give this one a try at your next tournament, at your next day, just fun fishing on the water. Whenever the conditions are tough, that's gonna be one you wanna turn to. All right, guys, well, hey, if you learned something today, make sure to give us a like. If you wanna see more videos just like this one, head on over to our Learning Center. We got a ton of content. This stuff is geared towards anglers of every skill level, you know, beginner, your tournament pro, all kinds of stuff. So make sure to head over to the Learning Center, check it all out, and let us know in the comments, you know, if you enjoyed this video, if you've used this product, and most importantly, what you want to learn next. We like to cover everything. We take your suggestions seriously, and we always like to show those videos for you. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next How To.